Hello and welcome to another chapter of Briefly Schmaltzy, where we make literary cocktails and then read said inspiration over the internet. Today's literary cocktail is inspired by the poem I Worried by Mary Oliver. So I'd like to start out by saying that this is a poem about anxiety. I am an anxious person. I'm not thinking about that thing that I said at a party 5 years ago. You're thinking about that thing that I said at a party 5 years ago. But what helps me interrupt those intrusive thoughts is creating something or reading something. That said, I know that drinking and anxiety are not a beneficial combo for many people, so I understand if this video is not for you. One of my favorite things about Mary Oliver is her gentle reminders to pay close attention to ourselves, to how we're feeling, and to the world around us. So I'd like to share a little bit of that with you today. So the poem starts out with a bunch of questions, which, especially this year, seem increasingly relevant, but it's also very grounded in nature. There are a lot of earthy elements, streams and flowers and gardens, oh my! So the inspiration for this cocktail was kind of like a garden party. I wanted something very bright and floral and bubbly. Something that is uplifting, you know? I don't want anything too boozy or weighed down. Something reminiscent of cotton candy or affirmations. Alright, I love Mary Oliver. She's kind of just like a breath of fresh air. All of her poetry just seems to build up to one beautiful moment. Let's get started. First things first, we're gonna add a bit of tea-infused gin. I think gin is a great base for a floral cocktail because you already get those amazing botanicals. Citrus, juniper, bergamot, in some cases lemongrass, in other cases rose and cucumber. So all I did was steep some jasmine green tea in gin for about half an hour. You don't want to steep tea for too long in alcohol because then it gets astringent and just really bitter. Just 2 ounces of our tea-infused gin. Make sure you pour at least 5 ounces all over your workspace. Next up, I made a rose petal simple syrup. You just gently waft some rose petals in a pond, and then you boil the pond with sugar cubes. And then you sing in the pond. That's how you make rose simple syrup. I'm only gonna add about a half an ounce. Yes, good. Now it's time for some lemon juice. Some might say that lemon juice is unacceptable, but we need the acidity to balance out the beverage. After all, the subjects of Mary Oliver's poetry are highly balanced individuals. I also freshly juiced an apple. I think it'll really elevate the flavor profile. And then my favorite part, the blue genie bottle. We will be adding 1 solid genie to our cocktail. We need them live, because if you add a dead genie to the cocktail, that's 5 years of bad luck. So actually these are lavender bitters. I really like layering the floral quality. We have roses, we got lavenders, we got apples. What more could you want? Just a couple dashes. We're also going to add an egg white. I gotta be honest, the only reason I'm adding this is to hold up our garnish at the end. The end result will be very smooth and airy, which I think goes along with our theme very well. We just want the egg white. We don't want the whole kit and caboodle. You could use an egg white separator like a professional, but I just use the egg shells, mostly because I'm lazy. Ah, yes. I know what you're thinking, Aaron. It must be time to shack it ass. But you're wrong. We're just gonna do a dry shake first, so we can get the egg white all emulsified. Just like wrapping little piglets in blankets in the sky. Now we're actually going to shack it ass. One last thing. I want to add a little bit of sparkling rosé to the mixture. Again, I'm thinking bright, bubbly, sparkly, airy. I think egg whites and bubbles tend to be best friends. And so we're just going to let them hang out with each other in our glass. I usually add the bubbles first because it mixes with the rest of the cocktail as I pour it in. Here we go. That worked out pretty exactly. And of course the fun part. What is a cocktail without a garnish? It's nothing! We're just gonna add a few rose petals and hibiscus flowers. It makes me sing. I love to spring in the sing time. Now that's a garden party. Is it time for a taste test? So when you smell it, get a good waft of flowers. Wow, that's really good. You're hit kind of up front with the rose simple syrup, then it rolls back to the jasmine tea at the back of the tongue. A little bit of lavender sprinkled in there. You kind of can't taste the apple so much, but I think without it, it would be a little flat. There's definitely a little bit more depth of floralness there, and the sparkling rosé just brings it all to the top. It's like flying with the piglets that we mentioned earlier for some reason. It's refined, but it's relaxing. Kind of invites you in a little bit. It just makes my soul sing. Ah! Will you be my best friend? Let's go read some Mary Oliver. First, a brief toast to Mary Oliver. I Worried by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the gardens grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and gave it up, and took my old body, and went out into the morning, and sang. Cheers.